Thank you, Dr. Matthew. Thank you to the entire organizing team of Digital Dialogues, and it's a wonderful event. And thank you for giving me this opportunity here today. It's an interesting topic because as I went through the topic, I also got to know many important facts about the topic which we have been missing in our routine clinical practice. So we all know the importance of hypertension. We know that hypertension is the leading cause for cardiovascular disease over a period, and it is the most preventable risk factor, as we know, for various diseases like stroke, for chronic kidney disease, for heart failure, and for cardiovascular disease. In spite of all the evidences, as we know, for hypertension and the importance of hypertension control, there are actually very few trials which have spoken or which have discussed the importance of home blood pressure monitoring, the importance, the correct methods of monitoring, the impact of the correct method of monitoring that it has on the results, and the importance of home blood pressure monitoring on morbidity and mortality. So accurate blood pressure measurement is an important aspect of hypertension management. And as Dr. Prashant rightly said, in today's times of the pandemic, when patients are not able to come to the clinic, patients are not able to, and we are doing more of teleconsultations also going on, I think home blood pressure monitoring becomes an important tool for us to assess our patients' control. So for years, we've been talking about blood pressure monitoring as something like which we always associated with an office or clinic blood pressure monitoring. Traditionally, we've been doing it for years with the mercury sphygmomanometer, which got banned a few years back. And we also are using the aneroid sphygmomanometer in our clinical practice. And also there is an automated system that can be used in the office or clinic blood pressure. There are some disadvantages that clinical trials have shown with the office or clinic blood pressure measurement. There have been some fluctuations in the values. There have been which is dependent also on the operator. There have been factors like the white coat hypertension or the mask hypertension, which plays a role and which does not give the correct office blood pressure measurement sometimes. So the other aspect of BP measurement is the out of office blood pressure measurement, and that is the home blood pressure monitoring system or the ambulatory blood pressure monitoring system. The ABPM, as we know, is the gold standard or considered to be the gold standard for blood pressure measurement, where a person wears the device for 24 hours and the blood pressure measurements are recorded. It has its own advantages where it definitely gives a more wider range of measurements. Nocturnal blood pressure measurements, which are usually missed by the other methods, can be recorded in the ABPM, especially the nocturnal dips that occur in a person can be recorded with the ABPM. But again, it's a bit of an expensive affair. Patients cannot keep that at home or do it on their own, and per se it is something which is a hurdle to do in everyday routine practice. The other aspect of out of office measurement is the home blood pressure monitoring system, which is what we are going to talk about today. It has been recognized and it has been used for a number of years. Various methods have been used for home blood pressure monitoring systems, various devices which lie basically on oscillatory or the auscultatory or the tonometry system, where the oscillatory system is considered to be the most accurate. We know the current guidelines of hypertension, what mentions the ideal blood pressure. Of course, there is a slight difference between the American College of Cardiology and the AHA versus the European associations, where more than 138 by 80 is considered to be hypertensive, while more than 140/90 is considered by the European Association. The targets for treatment also differ, with less than 130/80 by the American College, while systolic target of less than 140 and close to 130 is what the European mentions for BP targets for treatment. And then hypertensive requiring intervention would be more than 130/80 by the AHA and by more than 180/90 by the European Association. If you look at the limitations for the office BP measurements, mainly that the smaller number of readings are typically taken in the doctor's office. It is only once in a while when the patient comes to your clinic that you are able to record that. Sometimes poor technique, rapid cuff deflation, improper cuff, not a proper quality of the machine are often there, or sometimes it is the paramedical staff who is doing that and not the trained personnel very well doing it in a clinical office. White coat hypertension is one of the important aspects for office BP measurement, where a higher blood pressure in the clinic setting, while a normal blood pressure at home is normotensive by ambulatory measurement is what is seen. And sometimes it's the reverse, where the mask effect, as we know, that the patient is normotensive by clinic measurement and hypertensive by ambulatory measurement, which may lead to under treatment per se. At the same time, if you look at the out of office BP monitoring or the home monitoring, it provides a larger number of BP measurements away from the medical environment. A person can check more number of readings in a more relaxed environment where the patient is at home or in his place of comfort. Out of office monitoring comprises mainly, again, two techniques, as I showed you earlier, ABPM as well as HBPM. So self-monitoring of BP at home and work is per se a more practical approach to assess the difference between office and out of office BP measurement. And for those whose out of office BP measurements are less than 130 by 80 consistently, despite having an increase or elevated blood pressure in your office, but who do not have evidence of target organ disease or risk factors, maybe a drug therapy can be avoided if the patient monitors their BP per se regularly at home and gets a reading of less than 130/80 persistent. Various guidelines like the Hypertension Canada guidelines, the NICE guidelines, the European Society of Hypertension, the American College of Cardiology have all endorsed and recommended HBPM as the standard now per se, or can be considered equivalent to the office BP measurement, and has been endorsed by them. A growing body of evidence per se supports the benefits of HBPM compared with office-based monitoring systems. There have been clinical trials, though lesser numbers, which have correlated the HBPM with increased or higher HBPM with increased morbidity and mortality. Further, if you look at the economic aspect also, the home blood pressure monitoring is per se cheaper and easier to perform than the ABPM, and per se all digital or automatic devices which do require validation, and per se these validated devices are the ones which have been recommended for home monitoring. What are the ideal indications for which HBPM should be encouraged per se? Diagnosis of course, possible hypertension, treatment of hypertension, both can be done with the help of home monitoring. Management and monitoring of patients which are difficult to treat or resistant hypertensions, patients who may be on one or two drugs or more than two drugs already, and in spite of which may have different changes in blood pressure or elevated blood pressures, can be advised to monitor their BP more frequently, and the dose titration can be done itself more easily and without calling the patient to the clinic also very frequently. High risk patients, especially diabetic patients, patients with chronic kidney disease and pregnancy, in whom a closer monitoring of blood pressure is required, are the ideal candidates where home blood pressure monitoring should be encouraged. And an ideal tool to monitor and follow up patients with pre-hypertension or higher normal blood pressure, especially a patient whose blood pressure is detected at a higher level in your clinic for the first time. It may be due to white coat, it may be due to the anxiety aspect. These are the patients where home blood pressure monitoring might be more useful to diagnose hypertension and to decide whether they require a therapy or not. Again, it is an important aspect to identify white coat and mask hypertension. Home monitoring per se has shown good reproducibility, is well tolerated, and per se is inexpensive. It is again a complementary method to ABPM, but it is a much more easier method to be done, and per se a superior method to blood pressure taken in the clinic per se in preventing cardiovascular events and mortality. So when you teach a patient to do HBPM, certain aspects are something which are important. Ideally, tell the patient to do it in a sitting position. The back needs to be straight and supported. He should be ideally be sitting in a chair at home with his hands laid on the table, arms bare and supported. Using a cuff size which is appropriate for arm is the most important aspect to get a correct reading for HBPM. An inappropriate cuff results in a wrong reading. A cuff which is undersized usually gives an overestimation of the reading, or a cuff which is much larger in size gives invariably a lower reading, and therefore the size of the cuff is the most important aspect for to be taken into consideration. The cuff should ideally cover around 80 to 100% of the mid-arm circumference. The middle of the cuff should be at the heart level. The lower edge of the cuff should be 3 centimeters above the elbow crease. Patient should be instructed not to do not talk or move before or during the measurements. The legs should be straight and feet should be flat on the floor. Twice daily measurements are usually recommended in the morning and evening for a minimum of 5 days when the patient starts monitoring at home. The threshold for defining hypertension is an average home blood pressure monitoring of 130/85 or above. Patients are engaged with their management when they monitor their own blood pressure, and hence usually we see an increased adherence to therapy and a better reduction in blood pressure. Finger and wrist devices should be avoided as they are not accurate, and that has been seen in various trials again. There are certain patients who may not be ideally be suitable for home blood pressure monitoring. Some patients with undue anxiety in response to high blood pressure readings, physical or mental disability prevents accurate technique or recording. Patients who may not be able to do this technique easily at home. Arms which are not suited for blood pressure cuff. Example, sometimes some disorder morbidities are there or deformities are there in the arm. Irregular pulse or arrhythmias prevent accurate readings, especially patients with an arrhythmia disorders. The oscillatory meters may have an error in the readings when if they have an arrhythmias. And of course, lack of interest and lack of adherence would be one of the issue for these patients. When we are talking about home blood pressure monitoring, if we look at the advantages, of course, they can take multiple readings over an extended period of time. You can avoid the white coat reaction to BP measurement. They are more easily reproducible, the readings. The patient can keep on taking the readings more frequently and thereby predict, or we can have a more clarity on the results that are there. It predicts CV morbidity and mortality better than office BP readings. There are some trials which have shown that. Can diagnose both white coat as well as mask hypertension. It allows patients for better hypertension management. It can be easily accessed to telemonitoring and tele-video consultations that we are all used to doing now in the last 5 months, where you can assess the patient's record of blood pressure much better and thereby detects more increased BP variability. There are some limitations which we have to keep in mind. There are some devices which may not be very accurate out of all which are available to us. Cuff placement, as I told you, is a very important aspect and can have an effect on the accuracy if the cuff is not placed properly. It may induce anxiety and excessive monitoring sometimes to certain subset of patients. Risk of treatment change by patients based on casual home measurements without doctor guidance could be there. Self-treatment is known in our patients, and sometimes they may skip the medication seeing a normal blood pressure, or sometimes they may take an extra dose seeing a higher blood pressure. Lack of nocturnal monitoring is again one aspect which is there only with ABPM. And of course, it's not something which is reimbursed by insurance companies in many countries, though the devices are not very expensive also. When we are talking about recommendations for home blood pressure monitoring, the NICE guidelines have laid down certain criteria for monitoring. As I told you earlier, for each BP recording, 2 consecutive measurements need to be taken at least 1 minute apart with the person. BP recorded twice daily, ideally morning and evening, and that 2 readings each time. BP recording should be done for at least 4 to 7 days. Discard the measurements of day 1, where the average value of remaining days can be used or should be used as the average blood pressure readings. The first day readings need to be discarded. Monitors that use the oscillometric methods are the reliable ones and easy to use. The European Society of Hypertension recommends a semi-automated cuff or an automated electronic devices that measure BP at the upper arm, and monitors equipped with automated memory can prevent sometimes the misreporting, and the finger and wrist devices are not recommended. If you look at the compliance aspect, it has been seen that for patients who've been using HBPM, the compliance and adherence has always been better. They are found to have a significant reduction in systolic and diastolic blood pressure. Reduction in antihypertensive medications and therapeutic inertia is seen in clinical trials as well as real-world studies. Telemonitoring and teleconsultations becomes easier with this kind of readings. It avoids travel for patients, safety in today's times of like a pandemic, and per se saves time for the healthcare team also. Some instructions which you can give to the patient again, use devices which are appropriate for the individuals. Appropriate cuff size is what you should look at. Adequate the patient training should be given for measuring their BP or to the relatives at home, and regular verification of measuring technique should be done, especially whenever they come to your clinic and with their blood pressure readings. And values more than 130/85 should be considered elevated if the patients have been having this consistent reading. Duplicate measures is what is advised morning and evening for an initial 7-day period. Single day readings and first home BP values should not be considered. When you talk to the patients about the monitors, assist them, especially with the model and the correct size of the cuff. Understand or make them understand the size of the cuff should be large enough to cover their entire arm or 80 to 100% of the arm. The recommended devices, mainly by the British Hypertension Society or the ISO, is what is recommended. Advise patients that average readings equal to or more than 135 should be considered higher, and a lower threshold is appropriate for those with diabetes or chronic kidney diseases. Of course, the validation is an important aspect for our home blood pressure monitors. It's a clinical test which is done to define the protocol, to determine the accuracy of blood pressure monitors. A real world patient study is what is done for these monitors to undergo the validation. Usually with the strength of the study has to be a minimum of 85 patients. Calibration is something different and applies mainly to the mercury and aneroid devices, where the measured BP devices are checked for accuracy. Various guidelines are various societies like the British Hypertension Society, the Advanced in Healthcare Technology, the ISO or the International Standard Society or the European Society of Hypertension are the ones which have laid down validation protocols for different monitors, and the monitors have to undergo the validation test to be considered to be fit in or good enough for this. We need to understand that the devices are accurate enough. The number of patients in the validation study has to be looked at. The kind of patients who will be measured with the devices is what to be seen. It should be from all different groups. Did the device pass a validation for a special patient group is what again needs to be highlighted. And does the cuff size range cover the need, and this has been clinically investigated or no? These are the various points that have been seen to be looked at. There is always a question that which are the good devices that you can advise to a patient. There are various devices available. The Microlife and the Omron are the ones which are the most standard ones. If you look at the various criterias, Microlife is one of the standard devices which has been validated in various different countries. These are the various oscillometric ones. It has been tried in various conditions where patients are with stiffer arteries like end-stage renal disease, diabetes, elderly, dialysis, preeclampsia, or somebody with a more fluctuating blood pressures like low BP values of hypotension, children and adolescents, obesity, or different cuff ranges. Omron has been tried in some of the different conditions, and not tried in patients with end-stage renal disease. And there is some machines also which are available, but these are the two standard ones. When you look at the limitations of home blood pressure monitoring, systolic daytime blood pressure was found to be lower in clinical trials with home monitoring children than ABPM, but no difference exists in adults. So home BP monitoring ideally should not be recommended in children less than 12 years of age. In patients with CKD, home blood pressure monitoring does not provide nocturnal beep recordings and therefore does not give ideally the information based on diurnal patterns. And caution should be exercised when you are using this monitoring system in elderly, because there is found to have some underestimation value of 46% in subjects where they have used the Cocker of BP in the past. Accuracy of BP measurement has been tried in various monitoring in clinical trials. Again, there was a study in 2009 which used 554 different devices, and there only 30% were found to have acceptable validation. 72% of the automated monitors were found to be inaccurate. Another study with 300 devices found an acceptance of 30 to 40% in various devices. So it is important to look at the validated monitors and advise that only. The match between upper arm circumference and the cuff size is important for the accuracy of HBPM, again highlighting that aspect, and it should cover almost 80 to 100% of the individual's circumference. There are some advantages or some innovations which are being tried to overcome the disadvantages of the older machines. So like the home monitoring devices which are now coming up with equipped automated cuff wrapping, which will reduce the error or incorrectly wrapped cuff. A display indicating a correct positioning of devices would definitely reduce the error due to improper posture, and these displays are coming up in newer devices. There are devices which are now getting calibrated or with to detect irregular pulses, and which can detect the inaccurate blood pressure. They can also detect noises and wave pulses within the cuff that are caused by arm movements, and they will immediately detect them. One another newer technology that is coming is the IntelliWrap cuff technology. It is basically a longer inflatable cuff within the cuff, inflatable part within the cuff that would cover the entire aspect of the arm, and therefore It would reduce the problem of less pressure on the brachial artery, and therefore there have been clinical studies which have been done with this IntelliRep cuff, where they have compared it to the standard cuff, and where they found out that in spite of the cuff not covering properly, still it could give or reproduce the acceptable blood pressure readings. So the BP values that are obtained by oscillometric devices tend to be lower than by the reference method, but when especially if they are done with the standard cuff the size. So to summarize, the growing burden of hypertension, as we know, is on increase, and the easy availability of home blood pressure monitoring devices is something which we should be taking advantage of. Home blood pressure monitoring values or the mean values are stable and reproducibility is high. They are cost effective. They have stronger prognostic value in terms of CV risk when compared to the clinic BP measurement. It is easy to incorporate into daily routine, can accurately assess the response to hypertensive therapy and thereby enable telemonitoring. And it is something which would help us assess the patients at risk very easily and should be encouraged to our patients at home. Thank you.